In the shadows of Mount Everest, a train awaits. But be warned, those attempting to reach the summit must face him.
Expedition Everest, a chilling new ride at Disney's Animal Kingdom Park.
In 2006, Walt Disney World's Animal Kingdom opened Expedition Everest, the first major roller coaster in the park. It was the first Disney roller coaster to go both forward and backward, and it was an instant hit that won numerous awards. To top it off, it even included the biggest audio animatronic character ever constructed by Walt Disney Imagineering. It was, by all accounts, an amazing attraction. The problem is, the impressive and undeniably massive audio animatronic does not actually move anymore. And it hasn't for over a decade now. In fact, if you've only visited Walt Disney World since 2008 or so, it's possible you're not even aware the Yeti was ever supposed to move. So let's dive into the history of Expedition Everest and the massive Yeti creation. Disney's Animal Kingdom was a unique theme park idea from its inception. Rather than simply being another theme park full of roller coasters, the idea was to focus on the natural world and to take as many attractions surrounding actual animal life and transform them into traditional theme park attractions. The problem is that building something like that is not cheap, and the majority of the times the budget was too small for such an extraordinary and limitless thought concept. While Animal Kingdom was a success with the public at first, as any new Disney park would be, attendance began to drop after only a few years. The plans were soon put in motion to build a roller coaster. This would not be your typical roller coaster. It would go into the park's Asia section and would be called Expedition Everest. The roller coaster would become the largest attraction in all of Walt Disney World Orlando, as well as the most expensive roller coaster ever built at the time. Much of that cost, however, would be due to one single aspect that guests would only see for a few seconds on each ride around the mountain. Expedition Everest was largely inspired by Disneyland's Matterhorn, the one roller coaster from the original Disney park that did not make the leap over to Magic Kingdom. It currently resides at Disneyland in California. As the bigger and arguably better version of that ride, Expedition Everest was going to need its own, bigger and more advanced version of that ride's signature Yeti. Walt Disney Imaginer Joe Rohde, who was the lead designer on both Expedition Everest and Disney's Animal Kingdom as a whole, certainly went all out when designing the creature. The Yeti is 25 feet tall and is capable, when functioning, of 5 feet of lateral movement and 1.5 feet of vertical movement. It's a truly impressive sight to behold. There's just nothing else on the scale of the Yeti anywhere. Unfortunately, within months of Expedition Everest opening, it was discovered there was a problem. The size and movement of the Yeti was so powerful that the support structure holding it up reportedly began to crack under the pressure. The understanding is that the fault lies in the concrete base, and as such, it would require an extensive refurbishment that would likely last months. The exact cause of the problem has never been made clear. It seems that if the Yeti were allowed to keep functioning, the problem would only grow, causing problems with the rest of the attraction. In response, the Yeti was placed into what's called B mode. In this mode, the Yeti is completely motionless, and a strobe light effect is added that gives the illusion of movement. This has come to be called Disco Yeti by those who regularly visit Walt Disney World. Why is Expedition Everest such an amazing ride? Just look at it. The ride's technology included a switch track during the section of the climb up the mountain. As riders climb through the mountain, they are faced with a ripped-out track and are stood still. This is until a switch track activates behind the train and sends it flying backwards, throwing everyone off course. The designers and Imagineers made sure to keep these track switches hidden and all of the effects blend in with the surrounding environment of the ride. This is typical in Disney attractions as they want to keep you immersed at all times. The mountain was crafted using forced perspective. This is a technique that Disney uses all the time and is something that can have its own video on. Here is a video discussing the design process and building of this engineering marvel.
I wanted to tell the story about the Yeti, the Asian version of the abominable snowman. And where does the Yeti live? The Yeti lives in a mountain. The Yeti lives in the lower Himalayas. So we wanted to create a very immersive, a very real environment where guests might expect to really see a Yeti if it exists.
For Disney's Imagineers, that means scaling an Everest of art and engineering. The air is thin where no one's gone before.
There's certainly been creative challenges and construction challenges on the project.
This may be the most complex attraction ever built. It starts with a 20-story mountain that towers over the park. Then there's a roller coaster with a twist that throws all other thrill rides for a loop. For months, a team of engineers and artists has been recreating a Himalayan mountain range in Orlando, Florida. It's all part of a huge new attraction that includes a roller coaster screaming through a forest haunted by a Yeti.
We should be able to come back in, kind of, again, crisp up these edges a little bit.
Artisans have to access every square inch of the mountain to put on the rockwork face. To get the look and perspective right, they have to see the mountain from a distance. But traditional scaffolding would be too cumbersome and block their view. Trying to do both has the design team caught between a rock and a hard place.
It's a mass of scaffolding, and it's all on the outside, and we can't see through it. To see the mountain, to see what we're doing, we can't use traditional scaffolding.
They come up with a solution.
Instead of doing conventional scaffolding out here, what I think I might be able to do is from the structure come out with members that just come out and provide a working surface. It's going to look like toothpicks coming out of the mountain.
They'll need more than 2,000 of these giant steel toothpicks to support the scaffolding.
What we're trying to do is create the perspective of the Himalayan range, and some of the low peaks are 20,000 feet. Mount Everest itself is 29,000 feet.
How do you get that much distance on just a few acres of land? Using a trick of the trade called forced perspective.
That's a process where we try to make an object look bigger than it actually is, where we have a foreground, negative space, a mid-ground, negative space, and then a background.
Forced perspective is common on a smaller scale in set design and painting. But this may be the world's largest set, so this is tricky. The mountains have to look realistic from both near and far. Guests may even snap a closer look with telephoto lenses.
When the guests are very close to the rockwork, the rock has to appear to be one-to-one, and as the guests are further from it, then it has to be increasingly further and further away.
Overall, Expedition Everest is a true wonder in the theme park world, and there has been few attractions since that have come close to its magnitude and scale. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and tune in for the next episode of Coaster Archives. Leave suggestions on what coaster we should look into next. See you again very soon.